poll for the best guitarist this year in the magazine.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I wrote it myself.
That's a trip.
Well, tell me about your guitar, first of all.
My guitar, which one? I got like 3 of them that are kind of tripped out.
All right, each one.
Okay, the first
Your
one,
main one?
yeah, it's a copy of a Strat. It's not a Fender. It's a company called Charvel's. They advertise in your magazine all the time. And I bought a body from them and a neck for $50 and a neck for 80. Slapped it together, put an old Gibson pickup in it, and it's my main guitar. Painted it up, with the stripes and stuff, and I guess that's my thing.
Stan, you keep the same fretboard in?
Pardon?
You keep the same frets in?
Oh, I usually do all that stuff myself. Put my own frets in.
What kind do you use?
Just large Gibson ones.
Large Gibson.
The high ones.
What's the electronics in?
Oh, one volume knob and one pickup. That's all there is to it. No fancy tone knobs over here.
Yeah.
I see so many people that have these space age guitars, with out of phase switches and equalizers in their guitar and treble boosters, When we were in Japan, some company wanted me to endorse their stuff, and they hand me this guitar. It's got like 20 knobs on it. And I couldn't figure out how to work the thing. I said, "Shit, give me mine. One knob. That's all it is." It's simple and it sounds cool.
What about the other two?
The other one's just an Ibanez, which I slightly rearranged. If you saw it, the one I used, and you really got me. I just cut a piece out of it, painted it up.
What piece?
The way they look, right? It's kind of like a cross between a V and an Explorer now.
Oh, I see. And your other guitar?
After we do this, I'll show them to you. They'll be tripped out. My other one, I just put together over the couple of days we had off. Yesterday, I went down to Charvel's, they gave me a body. I just slapped a Dan Electro neck on it. Put an old Gibson pick in it.
You do the work yourself?
Pardon? Yeah.
You do the work?
Sure.
What kind of strings you use?
Fenders.
Gauge?
I don't know the number of the. It's I think XL 150. Starts with a high. The high E's a 9. The low one's a 40.
Goes to 42.
Something like that.
And
It's
picks?
a standard rock thing. Fenders.
Yeah.
Mediums or hards, whatever I can get.
When did you first start playing?
Let me see. I've been playing about 8 to 10 years. When we used to live in Holland, or me and Al both were born in Holland. My father used to be a professional musician there.
What do you play?
Saxophone, clarinet.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
And I used to play for radio shows because back then they used to have live radio shows instead of records, Oh, sorry. The second way around. Sorry.
That's all right.
And so he got us into music real early. We both started playing piano like at the age of 6 or 7. And
Take formal lessons then?
Sure.
Learn to read?
Oh yeah, definitely. I slightly know how to read for guitar because I know notes. But like if I see an A or an E, I don't know which one it is in relation to piano. But piano, I played for a long time and got all my musical theory and stuff like that from playing piano. I used to have this old Russian teacher that was a super concert pianist, And that's what our parents wanted us to be, was concert pianists. And then started working, had a paper out. I bought myself a drum set.
Is this in Holland still?
No, this was here. We moved over here about 10 years ago. 67, 68, something like that. Right around the Cream days, when they started out.
Good time.
That's when we came here. Because rock and roll, man, I wasn't into it at all back there. Wasn't much of a scene going on. And we came here, and some Hendrix and Cream, around 68. I said, fuck the piano, man. I don't want to sit down. I want to stand up, be crazy. But before that, we first came here, I started playing drums, and my brother was taking guitar lessons, flamenco, nylon string, stuff like that. And while I was out doing my paper out, so I could keep paying the payments for my drum set, he'd be playing my drums, and eventually he got better. I mean, he could play Wipeout, and I couldn't. It was back in those days. So I said, okay, keep the drums, I'll play a guitar. From there on, we've always played together. I've never played with another drummer.
What kind of guitar was it you started on?
Tesco Del Rey,
That's good though, Ray.
4 pickup Sears model. Cost, you know, 70, 80 bucks. But it was great.
Did you take?
Hey, hold on a minute. I'm doing an interview here.
Did you take lessons?
Oh, no, not for guitar.
Yeah.
It was, I guess, since I've started into music, I've always been around music all my life, so I kind of got an ear for
Yeah.
to pick up things pretty easy.
Who was your first professional gig?
Well, what do you consider professional? Just making money?
Yeah. For the first time.
Backyard parties?
Yeah. I
We
knew
used to do
that.
some outrageous parties.
When did you start playing parties?
With this band, we used to play parties too. 4 years ago.
When did the band form?
The way the band is right now, about
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
3.5, 4 years ago.
Who did you play with before that?
It used to be just me and Al and a different bass player. We used to be called Mammoth. And I got tired of singing. I used to lead sing. You know, and I couldn't stand that shit. I'd rather just play,
Yeah.
concentrate on playing. So Dave was in another local band, and we used to rent his PA. We said, fuck, it's much cheaper if we just get him in the band. So we got Dave in the band, and then we were playing this gig with Mike's band, our bass player, a group called Snake. They opened for us, and we were all tripped out because he was lead singing for his band and, you know, fronting his own band. Dave was fronting his own band, and I was too at that time. And then we all just kind of got together.
What city was this in?
Pasadena, LA, you know, Arcadia.
Yeah.
You know, we all just kind of got stuck with each other because by the time we got into high school or graduated, everyone had to go to school and be a lawyer or whatever.
How'd you end up here from there in 4 years?
Pardon?
How'd you end up here from there in 4 years?
Yeah.
Now, how'd you end up being here
Uh-huh.
in 4 years? 4 years ago, how'd you get to where you are today?
Oh, playing everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah.
From backyard parties to places the size of your bathroom. You name it. Used to do everything, you know. And we did it all without a manager, without an agent, without a record company. Like I guess the main thing that really got us going was the Pasadena Civic. We used to print up flyers, you know, with some local people helping us, you know, but it was basically our own thing. We'd print up flyers with a picture on it and, you know, stuff like thousands of them in high school lockers. And the first time we played, I guess, we drew maybe 900 people.
Wow,
The last time we did, which was maybe almost a year ago, we drew 3,300 people at $4 or $5 a head.
Yeah.
And that was still without a record out, you know, or management or anything. So it was about the only place where we could play our own music. So like we used to play Gazzari's and everywhere else, and got to do the top 40 grind, you know.
Yeah. How'd you get your record contract?
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
We just kept playing, doing our civic shows and clubs and stuff like that. And then we got into playing the Starwood and the Whiskey because Rodney Bingenheimer, who's a big wheel in LA music scene, saw us and he said, "Shit, you guys are all right. Why don't you play at the Starwood?" So we played there for maybe 4 or 5 months. And one day, Marshall, who's now our manager,
What's the last name?
Burl, Marshall Burl, he's Milton Berle's nephew. But he brought down, or he told us, he didn't tell us he was there. He just said, "Hey, there's some people out here to see you and us play good." And at that time, he really had nothing to do with us. He was just working his way into having something to do with us. And it ends up that we played a good set in front of no people, an empty house at the Starwood on a rainy Monday night. And got done with the set. We're all going, "Yeah, it was a good set. All right, guys." All of a sudden, Marshall walks in with Ted Templeman and Mo Oscar. I mean, that was a heavy thing, man.
Was with the Doobie Brothers?
Yeah. Well, he still produces them.
Yeah.
You know, he's done them and whoever else. But, I mean, it was heavy.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to other bands. They've always been trying to get Ted to produce their records, but he only works inside of Warner Brothers. You know, he doesn't produce other acts. And there he was, and he said, "Hey, it was great, man." And within a week, we were signed. Just right out of the movies, man.
Yeah.
Because really, we made a tape once with Gene Simmons from Kiss. We flew to New York with him, and nothing really ever came of it because we didn't know where the hell to take a tape.
Yeah.
So we had a pitch and sign and tape, you know, the world's most expensive demo tape, which he paid for. But we didn't know where to take it. We didn't feel like walking around knocking on people's doors, pushing ourselves on them, saying, "Hey, sign us," you know. So we just kept playing everywhere, and eventually they came to us.
Yeah. How long ago was that now?
A year and a half or so.
How long did it take you to cut the first album?
3 weeks. The album's very live.
Yeah.
No overdubs. That's the magic of Ted Templeman.
Yeah.
I'd say out of the 10 songs in the record, I overdubbed the solo in 2. Running with the Devil and Ice Cream Man, and Jamie's Crying, 3 songs. All the rest are live. I use the same equipment I use live. You know, one guitar, solo during the rhythm track.
Yeah.
Al just played one set of drums. And Mike, you know, and Dave stood in the booth and sang along and lead vocals at the same time. The only thing we did overdub was the backing vocals, because you can't play in the same room and sing, you know, with the amp, so there was a bleed onto the mics. But the music, I'd say, took a week, you know, and including Jamie's Crying, which we wrote in the studio. You know, I had the basic riff to the song, I was just dicking around, and my guitar solo. You know, Eruption wasn't really planned to be on the record. Me and Al were dicking around rehearsing for a show we had to do at the Whiskey. So I was warming up, you know, practicing my solo, and Ted walks in. He goes, "Hey, what's that?" I go, "That's a little solo thing I do live." And he goes, "Hey, it's great. Put it on the record." Same with Jamie's Crying. And the music took a week. The singing took about 2.
What's the difference between your studio playing and your live playing, you think?
Well, between that record and the shows we're doing now, I'd say none. Because we were jumping around, drinking a beer, and getting crazy in the studio too. You know, there's a vibe on the record, I think, to me, because a lot of bands, they keep hacking it out and doing so many overdubs and double tracking and shit like that, and it doesn't sound real, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of bands can't pull it off live because they overdub so much stuff in the studio that it either doesn't sound the same, or they're standing there pushing buttons, you know, to get their tape machines working right or something. So we kept it real live. The next record will be very much the same.
You already got plans for it?
Oh, for the first record, we went into the studio one day with Ted and laid down. We all just played live, you know, and laid down like 40 songs. And out of those 40, we picked 9 and wrote one in the studio for the record. So we got plenty of songs. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get together with Ted Wednesday and, you know, figure out which songs off that tape that we're going to do for the next one. But we've been writing, and we got so many more songs since that tape, and we got like 30 songs left just on that tape. And I think we're going to use just that tape for the next album, because Ted seemed pretty sure that he got, you know, some hit action or whatever just out of those songs. A little polish in here and there, you know. The basic ideas are there.
What kind of practicing do you do?
I never really sit down and really practice. Like, you know, shut myself in a little room and go, all right, I'm serious now. You know, I just sit around, and whenever I get bored, I play my guitar.
You compose with the guitar?
Sure. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes the toilet.
That's real common.
I mean, I'm always thinking music, you know.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I'm always trying to think of riffs, melodies in my head. Like sometimes people think I'm spacing off, but I'm not really. I'm thinking about music.
Can you remember it and do it later?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Yeah. Most of the time I'm so high I forget by the time I get to a guitar, I forget, you know.
Yeah. What kind of equipment and effects do you use?
Well, I'll tell you, man, the stuff I used on stage tonight isn't really my setup. I mean, it is. But see, we toured Japan, and on the way back over, man, all my good shit got ripped off. We got lost in air freight by Pan Am, you fuckers. No, really. Somehow, you know, it got lost. Didn't get put on the same plane and whatever. But I used to have like 4 very old Marshalls, like 65, And I had a guy named Jose, who's in San Fernando Valley somewhere, beef them up. He put bigger transformers in them, and there's a thing called bias
Yeah.
in an amp. You crank it all the way up, it really makes the tubes hot. And then I use these other things, which are called voltage generators, like a variac. It's a big box with a knob on it that controls voltage.
Mhm.
Plug your amp into it, and it goes all the way from 0 volts to like 140. And the amp's only supposed to take 110 volts. But you put in, you crank the thing above that, like to 130, 140 volts, and the tubes really glow. You got to keep a fan on them. And those amps used to blow like every other gig because you have to retube them every day. But they crank.
Yeah.
I mean, they sound like nothing else to me because they're so overdriven. Like they usually don't work for more than 10 hours of playing.
Yeah.
Maybe even less, because usually every other gig they blow out. They drop like flies.
How many do you use?
I had 4 good amps that I used to use all the time, but I don't have them anymore. I use what I basically have is 3 different setups, 3 complete setups.
What are they?
Well, I mean, like I have 3 tops, 300-watt tops of whatever make. Right now I'm using Music Man, a couple of Laney amps, which are English, and a couple of new Marshalls. I'm just using everything right now.
Yeah.
Because I lost those old amps. But I use like 3 100-watt amps for the main set, what I call it. And then I do my guitar solo, and after that I change guitars and amps to setup number 2.
Uh-huh.
And setup number 3 is also again 3 amps for backup.
So you have each guitar plugged into
into a different setup. So if something goes wrong first, all I just grab another guitar and it's completely different amps.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have to worry about trying to fix the setup that I was using.
What kind of different sounds do you get out of your guitar with that? Using the same amp setup?
Yeah, pretty much. Same guitars. I mean, the same style guitar. I used one pickup in the back with a vibrato. So that's the sound I'm into right now.
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen on the next record?
What about effects?
I use 2 Echoplexes. I use a flanger just for little subtle touches. I don't really use it for any intros or anything. Just notes here and there. Like maybe I'll hit a blow note and hit the switch. Just for little subtle effects. And I use a phase shifter. Phase 90 or whatever it makes it, MXR, I think. It doesn't really phase, It just kind of gives you treble boost, which I like, cuts through, for solos. That's about it. I use a Univox Echo box, which I had a different motor put in it, so it would go real low, so it would delay much slower. And like on the record, on Eruption, the end of my solo, where I go, all that noise. That's a Univox Echo box, which I put in the bomb.
Inside the bomb?
Yeah. Did you see that
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. What is
World
that?
War II bomb?
Torpedo or something?
Yeah, it's a bomb. Practice bomb. I used to fill it with dirt and drop it on the beach, for target practice or whatever. Yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
Usually it blows up, but most bands, like, whatever.
What's your strategy of playing guitar within the band?
I do whatever I want.
There,
I don't really think about it too much.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the beauty of being in this band, that everyone pretty much does what they want, and I don't know how to explain it. It's not that strict. Everyone just does what they want. They throw out ideas, and whatever happens, happens.
Do you find do you change songs for each set? Do you play the same song the same way, or?
I'd say that. What do you mean? Like, say if we play tomorrow, will the set be exactly the same?
Well, do you leave yourself room to do what you want when you're playing live?
Oh yeah, definitely. I usually don't have time. I forget the solos I played on the record because everything's pretty much spontaneous.
Yeah.
It's not so set. That's why we used to have a keyboard player, and I hated it because you have to play everything exactly the same all the time with the guy. You couldn't noodle like in between vocal lines. You couldn't noodle because he'd be doing something to fill it up.
Yeah.
And I didn't dig it because I play too much. Sometimes I guess too much. But I like playing my guitar. I don't want someone else filming where I want to fill.
Yeah.
I've never played. So I've always liked to play three-piece because I just play too much, I guess.
Uh-huh. What guitar players were you most influenced by?
That's a toughie, really. But I'd say the main one, believe it or not, was Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I don't sound like him.
You sound more like Hendrix and Clapton.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Because Hendrix I like, but I was never into him like I was Clapton. And Clapton, man, I know every fucking solo we ever played, note for note, still to this day.
Oh, you learned it? You memorized it?
Oh, yeah, I used to sit down and learn that stuff note for note.
Off the record?
Yeah, the live stuff, like Spoonful,
Yeah.
and I'm So Glad Live, all that stuff. But Hendrix, too. I'd just like the whole band, none of us really have one main thing that we like. Like, Dave, our singer, doesn't even own a stereo. He listens to the radio, which is a good variety.
Yeah.
That's why we do have, like, on the record, we got Ice Cream Man, which is a change from the slam bang loud stuff. And, we're into melodies, melodic stuff. Our stuff isn't, most of our songs you can sing along with, singing, even though it does have the killer guitar and then the world drums,
What advice would you give some young guitarists who want to go in the same route that you've gone?
It's a tough one. You just have to enjoy what you're doing. I mean, you can't pick up a guitar and say, I want to be like him. I want to be a rock star just because you want to be a rock star. I mean, you have to enjoy playing guitar. If you don't enjoy playing guitar, then it's useless. Because I know a lot of people who really want to be famous or whatever, but they don't really practice guitar. They think all you do is grow your hair long and look freaky and jump around, and they neglect the actual musical end, which is tough. I mean, to learn music is like going to school to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
But you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then forget it.
Do you think reading would help? Do you think it's necessary to be able to read?
It would help in certain things. I don't really think it helped me that much. It doesn't help me in writing songs, because it's just basically I can usually remember what I come up with and I put it on tape. That's all. And unless you read charts, unless you're a studio musician, then you have to know how to read. But that's what I like about rock and roll, man. It's more feeling than technical. That's why I hate a lot of bands, because they're so technical that there's no life to it.
Yeah.
I like loose rock and roll, but with good musicians.
Woody, what's your opinion of the state of rock and roll? The last year or so.
I'd say it's cool.
It's getting better.
I mean, I've never given up on rock and roll. I remember people used to say, rock and roll's dead, it's gone, Bullshit. I don't think so. It's always been there. It's still the main stadium sellout thing,
What are one last question? What are your plans for the future?
Plans for the future, man, just to keep fucking rocking out. And, playing good guitar.
What do you hope? Do you hope to accomplish anything more? Or get into any new areas with your guitar?
Sure. We got some acoustic tunes, which sound real nice.
Using acoustic guitars?
I've never really owned one. I mean, I play it on my electric, but I know it'll sound much better on acoustic because it's acoustic type of riffs, And I play keyboards, so does my brother. So don't be surprised if you hear some whatever, piano or synthesizer or something on the next record. Maybe the third one. Because I don't think we're going to make any drastic changes for the next one. I think a lot of people make that mistake. They make too drastic a change and people go, I don't like him anymore.
How long have you had the guitars you have now?
A couple years.
What were you playing before that?
I used to have an old gold top Les Paul.
What happened to it?
I painted it up and ruined it. I mean, I didn't learn nobody taught me how to do guitar work. I learned by trial and error.
Yeah.
When I fucked up a lot of good guitars that way, but now I know what I'm doing. So now I can do whatever I want with guitars to get them the way I want. Because I hate store-bought, off-the-rack guitars. They don't do what I want them to do,
Which is
which is fucking kick-ass and scream. Like the vibrato setup. You got to know how to set the thing up so it won't go out of tune, which took me a long time to get down. I mean, no one ever told me. I used to talk to other guitarists who, half-ass had it down, and they wouldn't let me know how to do it. But I figured it out, and I can just twang the fuck out of that thing now, and it won't go out of tune.
Well, I think that's it.
All right.